Languages such as English that exist as cultural amalgamations formed through invasion, occupation, globalization, and whatever hellish event was responsible for words such as yeet usually contain hundreds, if not thousands of words that share near identical meanings with many others. Synonyms. To some, redundant, to others, superfluous. But one area they shine in is embodying history. When two words or phrases carry the exact same objective meaning, but somehow carry very different cultural importance. The example of this I have for you today is this. What is the difference between a mythical creature and a cryptid? God damn it, this could have been a Words with Painticus segment. I'll shoehorn in one later. Anyway, a perfect example of this mythical creature versus cryptid question is the Native American legend of the Wendigo. What began a malevolent, cannibalistic creature or spirit of gluttony and corruption in the folklore of the northeastern Native Americans has been wildly appropriated by Western culture in the last century to now stand alongside other regional creatures of America like Bigfoot or the Mothman. Another example of this, and one that is close to my heart, physically, is the Loch Ness Monster. What once stood alongside ghosts, sirens, and devils is now comparable to the Loveland Frogman. The thing is, Nessie and the Wendigo haven't changed, but the world around them has. They went from myth to cryptid. But where do we draw the line? Is there even a line to draw? Can dragons stand alongside the Goatman? Can the Oklahoma octopus stand alongside a minotaur? And what of the myths of the future? Where will they stand? I'm afraid I don't have all of these answers, but what I do have are 3 games covering 3 cryptids from 3 very different eras. I am pleased to report that the following thing is brought to you by twitch.tv/Azrael_XI, because he asked me to in a Discord call to put him in here, and I said yes. So he's going to be making some appearances. The late 19th century was an odd time. Industry was claiming the world, yet we still had empires, and the West was plagued by some kind of half-man, half-bovine terror. This very juxtaposition is why we're opening with the Dogman. Allegedly first witnessed in 1887 by some lumberjacks, the Michigan Dogman would not gain real notoriety until literally 100 years later due to a comedy section of a radio show. There are also some Native American links that predate 1887, but I couldn't find any concrete evidence of those. In contrast with its modern fame, the Dogman has some archaic qualities shared only by ye olde tales. For example, he attacks only on years ending with 7, because naturally, he keeps up with the Gregorian calendar. And naturally, the only way to represent this kind of ye olde superstition in a game is by using a ye olde kind of horror. Don't get excited, it's a Slender clone. Welcome to Dogman. This game is a one-man project created by first-time developer Daniel George, and as much as it is a Slender clone, it does certainly outperform most of the others in that subgenre by introducing a whole lot more stuff, such as resource management, enemy variation, level selections, and hello! These guys. Let's hop in. Starting at the opening screen, we have a few things to talk about. Firstly, the font. It's a little much. I appreciate that it's not the default Unreal Engine text, but this is a little bit too much on my eyes. Spooky yet readable fonts do exist, and they don't look like this. When you actually start playing, you're given 4 levels to choose from. Stormy Wisconsin, Spooky Michigan, Hilly Virginia, and Louisiana, each with their own difficulty, objective, though they're all kind of just rebranded Slender objectives, dangers, pacing, and in some instances, different dogmen. Let's start in the Dogman homeland, Michigan. It is our job as this cartoonish police officer to wildly sprint through the darkness in pursuit of corpse friends. Unfortunately, you can potentially run into one of several titanic mutts that will just kind of push you over until you're dead. Now, I always thought that the bigger a dog is, the friendlier it is, but no, this is one naughty pooch. I did not like saying that sentence. And I have to be real, our friend Dogman does not have a great outing in his home turf. This map is absurdly dark, way too large, the terrain is samey and forgettable, and the bodies you have to find are in places I would not typically endorse. But thankfully, there are 3 other levels to talk about. Let's head over to the home of the moth, Virginia. Well, actually West Virginia is where the Mothman is from, but we're already dealing with some non-Michiganite dogmen, so, you know, geographical accuracy is already dead. Instead of bodies, we now have to search for trail cameras. You know, the ones that are literally designed to be hard to see. At least on this one, we're given a map, but it's got all the detail of a dark video on YouTube. But let's explore and find out what unnerving secrets this ashen land has to offer. Snowman. Cave that is cold. Sad water. Cat. All in all, this level is much better, as it has much higher visibility, a more memorable and fun environment, having cool things like frozen lakes, ice caves, and snowman, rather than just having wood. But it's still a slender clone at the end of the day, just a slightly better one. Where the game really starts to have its own identity is in the other 2 levels, starting with the Wisconsin Industrial Park, which harbors a lonesome, yet very intelligent, Dogman. Like Scooby-Doo. And ho-ho, is this place dark, and wet, and loud. So already, visibility is near 0, you could literally be sprinting at Mr. Dog and you'd have no way of knowing, which is made further possible by the fact that this Dogman is basically silent until he sees you, at which point he has a reaction. So, low visibility, basically no audio aid, a super fast, insta-killing cryptid of superior intelligence and distinct lack of Scooby snacks makes this level a little hard. I tried playing real stealthy, and it ended poorly. I tried all-out sprinting, and it ended poorly. And then I tried not trying again, and that went quite well. And now, you may be wondering, how does this help craft an identity for the game? Well, let me tell you what this level has that most other games don't. Red truck. But honestly, the next level is actually kinda cool. Oh my god, this one has an intro! And it's during the day, and there are cryptic and eerie messages on the ground, and it doesn't hide things in weird places? Good lord, I think this one is good. It lacks the visibility issues from some of the others, and honestly, that can't be understated. It makes exploring the world so much more enjoyable. This, coupled with the hip and fresh blind Dogman gimmick, honestly had me super immersed. When you're forced to pay attention to every little detail in your environment, it's hard not to be immersed. And the soundscape here is wonderful. The oppressive crickets, the cracking of wood, the occasional fleeing deer, and of course, the haggard breaths of the Dogman top pretty much any other Slender clone I've played. And yes, you're still just collecting X amount of Y, but if you form a compelling experience around it, you're not really worried about the mundanity of the objective. There is so much here that I like. It may be because I played it immediately after the other, largely unremarkable levels, but it also might not be because of that. The sight of 2 blind dogmen scouring the woods to find me as I stand silently, quivering in a nearby shack is an image I'll remember for some time. This is Dogman. Not a chasey, screamy thing, a beast. A hunter. A truly classic cryptid based on primal fears and scary trees. But over time, cryptozoology would have to get a little bit more creative. Over a century after the invent/discovery of the Michigan Dogman, and decades after the golden age of the 50s and 60s cryptozoology, Latin America provided the world with one of the final hurrahs for the mythology of the 20th century. 1995 gave us the first reports of the Chupacabra. Or, if you prefer the English name, Goutsucker. And honestly, I thought it was much older. It has the energy of a generations-old legend that has plagued farmers for untold years, but no, it came out in the same year as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. Chupacabra and Ivan Ooze are the same age, and both of them are younger than System Shock. I don't like this. And how would we gracefully carry the Chupacabra into the realm of video games? Well, a late-stage cryptid needs a late-stage indie horror format. Don't get excited, it was released as an early access survival sandbox game. Ugh. Welcome to Chupacabra. Okay, let me give you a view into how I work. Typically I play a bit of a game before I start to take notes, just to get the sort of feel of it. Chupacabra caused something different in my mind. A sort of trance where I could not stop playing. I had to find out when these grand revelations would end. And in no particular order, here are some of those grand revelations. Trees beyond a 30 feet or so radius turn into extremely low-res sprites that bend according to camera placement. The alligators do this endlessly until you try to jack their truck. Humans will sometimes shoot you, and sometimes not, even when you're stabbing their friends. Or them? What is that? The screen turns black and white when it rains. There are like 6 different menus to bring up, each strategically bound to different keys, which are remarkably easy to forget. The crafting takes this long. Actually, I don't want to make you sit through that. I desperately need the viewer retention. And finally, why does every heading in this menu say rest? Actually, no, I'm not done. Why is the movement speed so slow? Why can I consume arrows? Why is 90% of the screen leaves? Why is the crafting so slow? Why do I need soda for a pistol? No, I I can't. I just can't. I'm not dealing with Chupacabra anymore. In fact, on that topic, where the hell was Chupacabra during all of this? You know what? This thing is. It said bat at one point when discussing Chupacabra, so there it is. Prick. It's him. By the 2000s, creatures of folklore and legend were nothing more than quaint reminders of a much smaller world. And all beings forged in the light of Roswell and Bigfoot were considered curious cultural artifacts of an increasingly skeptical society. But that fascination with the supernatural, that fathomable unknown, remained. So how do you create cryptids in an age where nobody will believe in them? Well, it's quite simple. We embrace fiction. Enter the Rake. Yes, I could have chosen a number of others, Slenderman, Siren Head, Chills. All of these are very well-known cryptid pastas, but I've covered all of these before, plus the Rake actually predates most of these. First appearing in a 4chan horror fiction thread in 2005, the Rake was a constant yet understated member of the creepypasta pantheon for a number of years, and in 2015, it received its own game in tribute, Rake. And in order to keep the mood spooky, I've actually changed the colors of the footage so far. It actually looks like this. Yeah, like somebody took a pound of horse tranquilizers and went on a 3-day bender of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Now, I have to admit to a mistake that I made in my Bigfoot video. I said that the video game known as Bigfoot was the template for many other cryptid hunting games, but I was wrong. Rake is remarkably similar, but actually came out a year and a half before Bigfoot. Although I don't think Rake's multiplayer works, and it has ruined the concept of color for me, so, you know, Bigfoot still has some merit. So, to quickly summarize, camera, trap, gun, monster, day, not day, fight, scary, kill it now please, camper van. I was not joking about this being similar to Bigfoot. You skulk around using surveillance equipment and the like to conquer a freak beast. But the main differences here, while minor, are actually nice quality of life improvements, if not slightly more restricting in terms of gameplay. For example, you can't place cameras wherever you want. There are actually set positions for them, so they're much more curated and likely to be useful, but you can't place all of the cameras together and make them face off like it's 1997. Also, we don't get access to cool things like drones, but instead, we do get something better. A aminal with the camera on him. He is my friend. And another difference between this and Bigfoot is the behavior of the cryptid itself. While Bigfoot clearly took your very existence as a personal insult, the Rake just really wants its privacy. You come near him and he... Excuse me? Well, that's one hell of a punch. Bigfoot may have knocked me over, but the Rake made the real me have actual motion sickness. Anyway, if you come near any of his spots, he'll bop, bop, bop until... I don't know, you politely leave. You can attempt to shoot him to death, but it's not the fastest process by any means. More patient people than I could utilize traps, bait, hiding spots, and so on. But, you know...
That's not very epic!
Yes, thank you, Azrael. If you don't play hard and fast like I do, you could easily miss excellent things like these animal running animations. But oddities and comparisons aside, this game does have some really cool elements. The sound design is, while unrefined, very effective. Certain areas are immediately memorable due to their imposing music cues. The various kinds of forest ambience that your cameras pick up will have you paranoid, and it didn't make its cryptid sound like it's made of metal, like Chupacabra did. And can we talk for a second about how creepy this little man is? When I first saw his run, I didn't know whether I wanted to flee, laugh, or sort of pet him. But now I've decided, run, because he's so gangly. Creatures like the Rake often remind me of one of my favourite quotes, and I don't know who originally said this, I apologise, but I saw the developer of Dusk say it on Twitter. The existence of the uncanny valley implies that at some point there was an evolutionary reason to be afraid of something that looked human, but wasn't. Creepy stuff! So we've taken a look at cryptids from 3 different eras, that of folklore, of virality, and fiction. But what comes next? Where will we find the future of creepy creatures and urban legends? Well, there will always be fiction, of course, and fiction will continue to evolve in interesting ways. For example, the last decade or so has seen the rise of things like the SCP Foundation, which is effectively a whole catalogue of cryptozoological inventions and other anomalies. But there's actually a step further that already exists, and frighteningly, it has created a real cryptid, and it's one of the most horrific beings ever conceived. But interestingly, it combines aspects from every other era of mythology. It has the strange ritualistic demands of folklore, the virality of creatures like Bigfoot or Chupacabra, and much like the Rake, it began as fiction. Telling you what it is would put you in danger, and for those who already know what it is, I'm sorry. Anyway, thanks